So, Judge DiMango, weigh in here, if you will. What is the tipping point for a judge? I mean, Judge heard all of the arguments for and against, right? There's the convenience factor for the families that would have to drive 5.5 hours. There's the jury pool that might be badly saturated in the community where they are. Like, at what point does that judge decide, yeah, I think we've gone over the Rubicon, we've crossed the Rubicon, we've got to move? Like, what is it?
No, when the matters are discretionary, Ashley, it's very difficult to predict what would make one individual move in one direction and another not take that direction. But I think the judge has heard a substantial amount of testimony today. I think he's wise in trying to, sit with this evidence and think about it. Because there are some things that when you step back and you look at it, you say, was that really an accurate statement? I believe the expert might have said in small communities, they're more likely to follow law enforcement. Well, I'm not sure that's an accurate statement. I'm not sure it does justice to a community to say out of 40,000 people, we're not going to be able to find 16 or 18 people who can be fair and impartial. And merely because you move a venue from 40,000 to 10 times more, 400,000, that doesn't necessarily impute to you're going to have 10 times more fairness or 10 times more justice. And I think really when you're making, as a judge, when you're making these discretionary decisions, like the judge said, this is one of the most difficult decisions he's going to have. And I think at some point you just wake up with an answer.
Yeah, I hope it's soon. I think everyone wants to hear, what's going to be the plan here and then move ahead with it. The delays have been exhausting for this family, even though, honestly, it hasn't even been 2 years yet. And for a quadruple murder case, 2 years is not that long. So let me ask you this, Edwina. The defense says that there's a mob mentality in Latah County. And I'm just sort of curious about the statements that they released to the court. I read a few off the top. We're going to burn the courthouse down if he's found not guilty, etc. But they don't read the rest of the comments, right? And I'm just curious, because you're from that state, what do you think that survey would have yielded?
Well, I mean, of course, you're going to put the most incendiary comments in that support your position right into the briefing. But I think the defense, frankly, I have never seen a case where there has been this thorough of research in Idaho to support a change of venue motion. This was thoroughly researched. I mean, backed up by numerous people with incredible credentials that are, they're scientists, and fully supported that position with no evidence to the contrary that was presented by the prosecution. And I would note that what I found particularly ironic, that maybe a fact that's lost on folks that aren't from here, Ingrid Beatty, who argued this motion for the state, or the opposition to this motion for the state, she is a deputy attorney general that had to be brought in from Boise by Latah County because they frankly, seemingly they weren't equipped to just deal with this by themselves as the prosecutor's office. So Ms. Beatty, who's arguing this, is somebody who had to be brought in because Latah County prosecutor's office couldn't handle this by themselves. And that seems to be a remarkable irony.
It is, isn't it? So listen, Judge DiMango, I only have about 20 seconds left, but is there anything else that this judge can do short of moving the trial to ensure a fair trial?
Well, I think that most of this will occur during voir dire. First of all, the trial's 10 months away. So there's a lot of change that's going to happen in the community, I would think, between now and a June trial. The person who said on the phone, by the way, without identification, I'll burn the, someone might want to burn the courthouse, maybe not so willing to say that under oath in front of a judge, could move to Boise. I mean, there are so many things that could happen. I think the real test here is how much time, latitude, and depth the judge will give the lawyers in voir direing the jury, asking them questions, vetting them to see whether or not indeed they can be fair and impartial. And I just want to say, Ashleigh, in the trials I've had, I have noticed that jurors, once they're sworn in, they want to do the right thing. They want to follow the law. They want to follow the judge's directions. No one wants to see an innocent person nor a guilty man.
It is different. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.